Welcome back to the show. This is your host, David Yanis. We have a very good guest with us today, Mr. Michael Reynolds. He was on the show earlier with us today. And I tell you what, it's like a kindred of spirits. We just became like David and Jonathan. It felt good. It felt real good. How you doing, Mike? Welcome to the show.
Well, I'm just blessed to be here and enjoying the conversation.
On the radio show, you got it. Y'all, if you have not heard it to this morning and this afternoon, you have to go back and you have to listen to it because I'm talking about a journey that Mike did not expect to do. He did not expect to do this journey. 20 years in the making. Like you hear that 20 years in the making, and my brother is moving in what he felt he should have been doing from the beginning. And I don't know how many of us can testify, but just share your story a little bit to everybody, brother.
Yeah, basically, I've always had this kind of vision or calling of being a writer ever since I was 15 years old, and long before I was walking with the Lord. Proof that He still speaks to us even when we're too ignorant to listen.
Amen.
And I wrote about 3 books by the time I was 20, and then when I got to college, I was really intending it was time for me to write this great American novel, the dream of every writer. And because of college and me working full time at the time, I only got as far as a title and the subject, which was Irish immigration in the 1840s. And so to fast forward it, I thought I was going to be writing that in a year, and God took me on a detour through journalism, career in journalism, and then getting married and kids and having to be responsible and getting a job in marketing and doing a lot of writing there to creating documentaries. That it was 20 years later when this title came to life at a writers conference, and the reality is I was not ready to write that book 20 years ago.
Mm.
I was not walking with the Lord. I was not. I wouldn't have written something that would have been honoring to Him, and it would have been out there. And additionally, my lead character in the first novel is a woman, and I really was completely dysfunctional in that area. And so God had me marry an amazing woman, and then He gave me 3 daughters, and so He put me through extensive training before I was ready to really handle a lead character who was a woman, and still much in training,
Yeah.
as it
How much
says.
more training can you get? You have a wife and 3 girls, right?
And if you had told me 20 years ago, saying that hey, you're going to have to wait 20 years before you can go ahead and write this book and get it published, I would have said, forget about it. I mean, when you're young, what you won't put something off for a week. And so God just had to do a mighty distraction in my life, and if I look back on it, the path makes perfect sense. I mean, you look at it and you go, okay, that point led to this point, to that point, to this point. Meanwhile, you think you're just wandering in the trees and bushes, and but God's got that view of the corn maze from above, and He's got a perfect view of where you're heading and where you're going, and so that's the trust. As we're in there among those corn mazes, and it's hot and musky, and there's bugs in there, and you can't see anywhere, and you're sweaty and feeling lost. That's where that trust is, where He says, "Look, I'm not going to let you know where this ends, but just go up to the next point and take a left." And that's about as far as we're able to really do. And if we can do that, we can go up front and take a left. No, not go right, or not turn around and go back the way we can. Then He really honors that those little voices of commitment.
Amen. Now, there was a point in your life of you're busy working. I believe it was at the newspaper or something. You're working, and you shared this on the radio show, and you heard one of your coworkers just got accepted to his novel, and everybody was congratulating him. And there were some things that happened in you, and it made you remember what you want to do when you were earlier in your life. Share with
Well,
us.
it was much worse than that. It was one of the people in my Bible study in our house, came and shared this great moment in
Okay.
his life. That he got this 3 book contract, and there I was, it had been 18 years after I thought I was going to go that route, and everybody's patting him on the back and praising God, and here I am in very unrighteous envy, going, why isn't
We
that
all
me?
felt that.
But he ended up taking me to a writers conference, and literally that's when I really heard God firmly saying, "Okay, Michael, I couldn't trust you to write this book 20 years ago, but I think you're ready now, son." So,
Mm.
and that really sent me off on a point to where in very short order I had a 3-book contract and had 3 books that had to be written under impossible deadlines, and so that was the exciting part of the journey, and everything was affirmed along the way.
Amen. And right when you went to go sell the script, or when you went to go sell the book and pitch it, you were a salesman already. You were used to talking. So God prepared you. You're used to know. You told me that you're used to people saying you're not interested. That it was a good idea, but we're not interested. So it didn't make you down like it would make most authors, and that kind of just energized you to keep going.
Yeah, I really had an unfair advantage as I went in and pitched in this book, and I'm in a room with 500 writers, and most writers are pretty shy and bashful. And
Yes.
here I had owned my marketing agency for so long that when you own a business, you're so used to the word no, you're so used to rejection that it just doesn't bother you to the level of that normal people do. And so I was able to just really, with a lot of enthusiasm and truthfully with some of the skills that you develop through doing that for a
Yeah.
long time, be able to present my story, and that really helped. So again, and not only that, looking back on it, authors today are responsible for getting the word out and selling their book more than any other time. And this journey that he had taken me on had really given me a lot of tools that now it's like, okay, that makes sense for me to go through that training first too.
Amen. And tell everybody about the genre about your book. Where's this timeline? Where's the storyline?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the series are the Heirs of Ireland series, and it's based on Irish immigration in the 1840s. The first book, Flight of the Earls, covers the great potato famine in the 1840s, and it's got a real plot of suspense and romance and adventure in there. The second book, which just came out, is In Golden Splendor. That carries the same story of this family, but now into the gold rush and the birth of the American dream, and really a fascinating time in American history. And then the third one concludes, it comes out in January. It's called Songs of the Shenandoah, and that covers the time period of the Civil War. So here you have this series, which is a period of time where in our country, there's huge immigration problems, there's huge national debt, and there's a divided nation. So you go back 150 years and you see that they're facing a lot of the
Mm.
problems
Yes.
that we're facing today.
That's amazing. And you actually switched the hero in this one. In the second book is actually the hero you originally thought for the first book. Tell everybody about that, how that happened.
Yeah, I originally pitched the story at that writers' conference, and the way the story goes is that when I got dragged to that writers' conference for the first time, I had written documentaries and a lot of journalism, and truthfully, I hadn't written a word of fiction for over 20 years, and so I thought I was just gonna, if anything, I'd be a nonfiction author. And so I pitched every poor nonfiction editor in the entire conference, and to the point to where they'd see me coming and would turn and go the other way. And so when I was all finished, I still had a day left, and I was having so much fun pitching, I decided just to sit at a fiction table just for fun. And there I was sitting at the other end of the table, and I literally heard, God's clear voice as the editors were going around and asking people what they were writing about, saying, go ahead and pitch that idea you had 20 years ago. And so I had to scramble to come up with a way of describing it. But I first described it as there's this young Irish man who, because of the Great Potato Famine, has to leave Ireland and go to historic New York. And there he finds romance, adventure, and a terrible family secret that threatens all he believes. And the editor heard that and said, wow, I really like that story. It's very unique. That's a unique time period. But did you know that in the Christian Booksellers Association that more than 70% of our readers are women?
Mm.
If you had a female protagonist, you'd have a much better chance of getting published. So I went to the next table, and then I pitched the story with a female protagonist, and I had one editor, and then at another table, another editor asked me to send it in. Of course, I hadn't written the first sentence. And so this second book, In Golden Splendor, it was a sister and brother who immigrated in the first book, and the sister is really the lead character in that one. In this book, it's the brother then who his story was kind of unresolved in the first book, and now it's his chance to have his story, his adventure and his quest for romance.
That's amazing. Tell them how they can get your books.
Well, you can go to my website, michaelkreynolds.com, and there you'll see links to all different places to where you can buy it. Should be in all of your Christian bookstores, should be in all your regular bookstores. If not, ask them to put it on the shelf there, and then go ahead and support your local bookstores. They'd love to see you. And or you can also get it online at any of the traditional Amazon or Nook or those. But if you do get it, make sure you let me know. I'd love to hear what you think.
Thank you so much for being a part of the show, and we appreciate you being part of both shows, the radio and the TV, Mike. We really do.
Hey, it's been a blessing, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Amen.